Okay, so we've got both tires off the bike, and now we're going to head off to Swifty's motorcycle shop here in Fort Worth, Texas. And we've got 2 tires there waiting for us that we purchased from them. They're going to mount and balance them, and they're also going to do a spoke adjustment on these spoked rims as well. When we get there, we're going to talk to Eric and maybe some of the techs about the importance of both proper spoke or wheel truing or spoke adjustment and proper balancing and why it should be done at a shop. All right, so we're here at Swifty's motorcycle shop, and we're going to talk to Eric about the importance of a proper truing of spoked wheels. And he's going to give us some insights on why you should probably bring it to a shop and have a professional do the truing. After talking to him, after seeing, which we're going to show some clips, it's truly an art to properly true a spoked wheel, and get it correct. So what can you tell us about it?
Well, you know, we did the tires, and then whenever we balance a tire on the machine, one thing that we're looking for is not only just a balance, but we're also looking at the wheel, you know. So when that's spinning on the balancer, you know, you can notice some, you know, swaying either left or right or up and down.
Okay, so say I'm at home and I'm going to get the bright idea that I'm going to tighten these spokes by myself.
Okay.
What can I do to mess that spoke tire up by just grabbing a spoke wrench and start turning them, and maybe just listen to it and tapping them and listen for that, you know, certain tone.
Okay.
And if that tone's the same all the way around, that doesn't necessarily mean my wheel is true though, right?
That's correct. So, you know, different spokes will have different tension on them to sway, but it needs to be a small amount of difference, because every spoke holds the weight of the wheel, or the weight of the bike, excuse me. So, you know, it's important for them to be similarly tensioned, but some will have a little bit more than others. I think it's great that people can, you know, maybe use a small screwdriver and slightly tap on the spokes to make sure that there's not a problem, you know, as your general maintenance check.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they are loose, you need to get that wheel down to your shop as soon as possible.
Right.
And I don't suggest ever riding any loose spokes. You'll end up with broken spokes, and then it'll damage the hub. And now it starts to get really expensive. But it is nice to be proactive and check those spokes and make sure that there's not a ding, 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 dong, dong, dong. You know, you want to make sure that there is a bit of a ting to each one of them.
But you got to remember that just because you tighten it doesn't mean you're really truing a wheel.
Correct. Yeah.
You're just tightening a spoke that's loose.
Correct.
You know, it didn't feel like there's any loose spokes on it. You know, I was checking that earlier. You can hear that there's some, you know, pretty good tension on them.
So Margaret must not be riding it hard enough.
Yeah, you need to start really whipping this thing around. And front tires and front wheels, I probably true 10 rears to 1 front. You know, those are the ones that get the abuse generally. Okay. But don't disregard your front wheels.
Spoke tension can move a wheel up and down or left or right, and then you do have the actual, you know, the metal band of the rim. It can be bent as well, and spoke tension won't actually fix that. Mm-hmm. But there are some tools that you can adjust those as necessary. You know, like if you hit a pothole or something like that, it could actually bend a lip of the wheel, but you know, tightening the spoke isn't going to unbend that.
So what's happening here? What are we looking at, Eric?
All right, first thing I'm going to look at here is the side-to-side movement, which is usually what it's going to affect you the most. So right now we're about 50 thousandths out, which is actually pretty good. The Harley specification for this wheel is 250 thousandths, which is 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah,
which
that's huge.
Is pretty crazy. Yeah, so they say you don't need to true it up before that, but I would definitely say, you know, anything probably around that 100 thousandths, 125 thousandths, 1/8 of an inch. Since you have the wheel off anyway, you know, so.
Now, where are you getting that measurement from? Let me come around to the dial indicator over there.
When we're spinning that wheel, you can see, actually, you know, kind of see how far it is.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't know how many thousandths are, you can see the movement.
Sure enough. Okay.
And then we'll also check the up and down of the wheel. But first off, we'll true the side to side.
So if you have, let's say on a Harley-Davidson's a 40-spoke wheel most of the time, you know, if you have 30 of those spokes that are tight, pretty darn tight, and the other ones are just kind of tight, all the tension and all the abuse that those spokes are getting, you've now taken 25% of them aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So the additional 25%, now it's on that 30 or the 30 spoke. So
Right.
those spokes are working even harder. So that's why it's important for them to be very similarly tensioned.
Right. So that means it basically degrades the integrity of the wheel as a whole when you start getting them loose like that.
Correct.
Right. So when they get real loose, obviously you can have some wobbling issues from the hub to the outer rim.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So, I mean,
It's pretty gnarly. A lot of people come in actually think that usually the rear wheel's the one that gets the loose spokes because it's it's driving, and a lot of people use the rear wheel for braking.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tension and everything on those spokes. So we get a lot of people come in and think they have a problem with their front end of their motorcycle because what they're feeling is in the back of the bike is moving, but what you feel is in the steering. So they go, oh yeah, something's wrong with my steering, and then you go back there and you grab the back of the bike and it's like, whoa, then you're,
because the spokes are loose.
you're like, oh, I didn't even know that.
Right. Okay.
Oh, pretty snug there. And you don't want to turn on them unless they're going to move. You don't want to break a spoke.
So Eric's saying these are real snug, the spokes. And
They are snug. You can actually get some corrosion as well. Like we saw the valve stem had the rust on it and everything. So if you get a lot of moisture down inside between the spoke and the spoke nipple itself, you can get some corrosion where it makes it difficult for them to turn. Sometimes you'll have to lubricate those a little bit, or put some penetrating oil on them, which we don't do that unless we have to because it leaves a residual in there. You don't want them loosening it up. But
right.
there are times where they just won't turn, and at that point then you're going to have to replace the spoke.
How often should somebody check the spokes?
And what are we looking for?
Well, every manufacturer's going to have a service interval, for all sorts of different things. Change your oil and, replacing brake fluid and brake pads and all that stuff. So, there should be something about spoke tension in your manual. So, for instance, like Harley-Davidson's, they have their K services, which are 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, on the 5,000 mile marks. And every single one of those K services, if that bike has spokes on it, the spoke tension should be checked and check the wheel for true. So anytime that you have a tire put on, I would ask the technician to check the true on it and check spoke tension. I mean, if it's off the bike and it's right there in front of you, you might as well be doing it while it's off the bike. So, they'll put it on the balancer and hit the old start button, and when it starts, wiggle waggling around, it's probably time to do something about it.
Right.
So.
But I mean, obviously, it should be mentioned, hey, can you check the spoke adjustment while you're doing the tire? Because who wants to bring their tire back in a second time just for spokes when you can do it when you're putting a new tire on?
Right.
Just have it done all at once.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
just do it. It's already off the bike, and
Right.
just do it then, or at least check it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to need to be done, but
Right.
it's just proactive maintenance, and check on it.
Sure. Okay, I'd like to thank Eric at Swifty's Motorcycle Shop for taking the time to let us do video on how to true a spoked wheel for a motorcycle, and also encourage you to support your local independent motorcycle shop. So again, ride strong, wrench proud.